450 horsepower. This thing has an 8.4 liter V10 with 645 horsepower. That's right, this thing has an entire Volkswagen GTI more power than my car. And while my car does 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds, this thing does it in just a shade over 3 seconds. That's monstrously fast. And of course, the differences don't stop there. If you've spent a lot of time in my old Viper and then you climb into a new one, you'll be shocked that it's even still the same car. To start, the new Viper has an unbelievable level of buttons just on its steering wheel.
Over here, you have all the buttons for the Bluetooth, and behind those buttons are the controls for the stereo. On the right, you have the cruise control buttons, and yes, even a button for launch control.
Admittedly, in my Viper, I do have one button on my steering wheel. It's called the horn. Some more benefits of this car. It has cup holders. It has a push-button starter. It has automatic headlights. It even has power mirrors. Such luxuries. I don't have any of that stuff. If I want to adjust my mirrors, they're adjusted. This Viper has power adjustable pedals. You push this little button here and the pedals whir around to conform to your feet wherever you need them. In my car, if you want to change your foot position, you move your legs.
It's also amazing to me to see a Viper with this much infotainment tech. Of course, it has everything you want. Climate controls, a navigation system, controls for the stereo and the satellite radio. But the coolest thing is the SRT performance pages, which display all sorts of performance information about your Viper, like your 0 to 60 time, your quarter-mile time and speed, your braking distances. It even shows your personal bests. It also shows a G meter, some gauges, and then some more gauges that measure everything, including your intake air temperature. And then it shows how much horsepower and torque you're making at any given moment. And yes, there's a backup camera in a Viper. Brave new world.
All that may seem pretty cool, but my Viper has something that the new one does not have. I have a CD player, and it's got a repeat button, huh? How about that?
The gauge cluster is also really cool. For one thing, there's a hibernation mode in this car for when you know the car is going to sit for a while. But it also lets you scroll through all sorts of stuff, including simulated drag strips for the quarter mile and the eighth mile. You can see your G meter, your current miles per gallon, the owner of this one is averaging 10.9, and all sorts of other things, even your engine hours.
Now, my gauge cluster in my Viper is pretty cool too. I mean, I got a trip odometer. Stepping outside the interior for just a moment, take a look at something I've just noticed on the hood. Look at the size of the hood vents in this Viper. Now, my Viper also has hood vents, but they're little baby hood vents by comparison. Do you think my Viper is jealous? Now, two other interesting things I noticed up here. Number one is the adjustable suspension. In some luxury cars, there's a little button inside that you adjust the suspension's firmness. This thing is way more hardcore than that. There's actually a dial next to the front tires that you can turn manually to adjust the suspension. Bet you don't have that in your Toyota Camry. You can even change the ride height. Number two, it took me ages to find 4 tires for my old Viper. This thing not only has 4 matching tires, but the tires say ACR on them. They're built just for this car. But despite all these differences, these two cars do have one curious little interesting Viper detail in common. This little warning label located here on the driver's door sill that lets you know that when you're getting out, you have to be careful not to put your legs here, because if you do, you'll burn them on the exhaust. But it isn't just the interior and the technology that separates these two cars. Even though everybody's always telling me that all Vipers look alike, there are some pretty substantial styling differences. Take, for example, the front. My car has this old look with these old school headlights. Meanwhile, this thing has LED running lights, LED turn signals, HID lights, and a far more modern, aggressive front end design. From the side, you can see even more differences. My Viper has more of a classic old school look, while the new one has clearly been modernized. The new one still retains the same long hood, and they share somewhat similar proportions, but to me, the new one looks sportier and racier. It also just doesn't quite look so old. When you see the two cars next to each other, it's very clear that mine hails from a different era. Then you get around back and you once again discover some pretty substantially different styling. Mine has these old school brake lights and turn signals, and this thing has this new look with LEDs. Also, if you get an ACR, you get a wing the size of an adolescent caribou. Now, I don't have a wing, but if I do this, that almost looks as cool. So the cars look different and they have different technology and their interiors are night and day different. But how does the ACR drive? Well, I'm going to take it out on the road and find out. And as I do it, I'm going to give a running commentary in comparison with my Viper. Now, if you want to see a video that shows just my Viper's driving experience, there's one in the description below. Of course, in the description below, you can also find a link to my column on autotrader.com/oversteer, where I provide a little bit more of my thoughts between the new and old Viper comparison. Driving the ACR. Boy, the visibility situation is a little bit harsh out there. Oh, God, that's tight. Oh yeah, the ride quality, oh man. Boy, and we're only going about 12 miles an hour here. Boy, oh. Yeah, I can't believe this doesn't get old for you. The owner of this car basically daily drives it. He's had it for 6 months, and it has 10,200 miles on it already. It's a brave individual, frankly. I can't believe how the wing is just lifted above the window. I can't even see it. The visibility straight back is pretty good. The wing is 70 inches wide. That's like just shy of 6 feet. Man, the transmission is so tight. In my car, it's good for a 1997 automobile. In this car, it's good for any car. And the clutch so far, you know, it's good. The big difference I'm noticing is that the gas pedal isn't as easily pushable. Like in my car, the gas pedal is like very simple and easy to push down. And in this car, you kind of got to figure out the engagement point a little bit more. Like, for example, that. God. Boy, yeah, it's a little bit hard. It's hard for me to figure out where the catch point is. I think the biggest problem that I'm having is the gas pedal, though. It's just not quite as, it's not that it's bad. I just think it's one of those things that takes getting used to. This is kind of a cool experience, though, getting to drive this car at low speeds. It's nowhere near as bad as I thought. Driving this, like now that we're moving, and the ride is not the best. I would prefer a slightly nicer ride, but now that we're moving, it's like, you know, it's tolerable. I could see how you could drive this often. I don't know that I would want to necessarily. One of the things you can easily feel is that they've mitigated that incredibly heavy front end feel that my car suffers from. This car, the engine is further back. It's still got this long hood like the Vipers do, but somehow they've managed to make this one clearly feel like more balanced, which is nice. Steering is not exotic car precise, but the handling is very predictable, which is nice. So much more than my car. My car, you really feel that long front end, and you feel like you don't want to do anything with it until you really get to know it, because you're kind of nervous about it. This car, you can tell that it's just more usable. It's more drivable by a normal person. The handling is excellent. These corners here, whoo, I don't feel that weight. That weight is all gone. The car is much more balanced than my old one. Oh man, and every time you push your front foot, that's 3,500 RPM, every time you push your foot down, you just hear, you know that there's more there. There's something there if you want to have it. Man, whew, holy crap. It is just, the car clearly is, the capability is so much beyond mine. You get up to red line, the Viper symbol turns on in the tag. Oh my God. Holy crap! Wow, this is so fast. I can't believe I'm controlling the gears myself. That's like, what? How? I'm too much of an idiot to handle this behavior. Now that I'm so glad we got on the highway, these curves on the highway, these on-ramps, this is one of the more like visceral car experiences I've had. I do feel a little nervous though. You know what these things have done and can do. Woo! Oh my God! There's just endless power. Oh my God, the power. That is unbelievable. Wow. Woo! Wow, God, yeah, it can grip. Boy, can it ever grip. It's just incredible how quick it is, and the sound you hear, it's like, it's less of a precision instrument than a Lamborghini or Ferrari or whatever, but the brutality is part of the charm. You don't buy this thinking you're getting like a mid-engine, like well-engineered European. You buy it because you want that like, and this car delivers that more than any American car that I've ever driven before. So here's what we've discovered today. Yes, these Vipers may seem similar on paper, just a rumbly American sports car with a big old V10 under their long hoods, but 20 years makes an enormous amount of difference, and these cars are nothing alike. And now I have to drive home in my old Viper without the cool screen and the cool seats and the cruise control and the push button start. It's like a brand new car. I guess it is a brand new car, that's probably why. Let's try that again. With the long hood and the something. There's something to him. Maybe that worked, let's see. That bird is annoying.